All right, welcome back to another episode of Grammys and Heismans. Your host Chuck Walton alongside JG, Justin Giandgrande, and we have a very special, our most special guest so far. The fans requested her, and she's here. Rachel Demita, how you doing?
I'm good. There's no way the fans requested me.
No, they
Did
did.
they?
Big, yeah.
They did, they did. They were
Well, that
between
was so
you,
nice of them.
they were between you, Taylor Swift, and Megan Fox, and you won, so you're here.
Got it. I would.
They said they got the best. They said they got the best of all three with her. Right? Is that what they said? Right, Chuck? Right?
Best of all three worlds. So so look,
Yes.
Rachel, like you don't need an introduction. And I want you to know this: you're truly a legend. I feel like in entertainment and broadcasting, the worlds are just very mixed these days. But you touch every surface level of what's great about the world that you operate in. But a lot of people don't know you were an athlete yourself. So kind of like take us back to the beginning. Take us back to junior high school, just the days of you as an athlete.
Me as an athlete. Well, thank you for having me. Firstly, I'm glad that
Yeah.
I'm the first choice over Taylor and Megan. It's a huge honor. But okay, me as an athlete, I could probably beat them in sports, though. That's the one thing I have, I think, over the other
I
two.
wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah. I played a ton of sports growing up. It's funny because I was the worst at basketball, and so why I chose basketball to be my thing it made zero sense at the time, but that's what kids do. They're like, this is the one that's most fun. I sucked. I was horrible at basketball. I was really good naturally at track. I was a great softball player, and I was like, nah, I want to focus on basketball. So and then I think in the seventh grade is when I was like, I want to get a Division 1 scholarship. That was my goal. Now, my goal was never to play professionally for whatever reason. I think it was for a myriad of reasons, but I was like, my end goal was Division 1 scholarship, and then I wanted to go have a career doing something else. And so I just, worked my butt off toward that. And basketball was my whole life, basketball in school. And then I did earn a full-ride scholarship to Old Dominion, and which is in Norfolk, Virginia, which at the time Coach Wendy Larry was there. She was like good friends with Pat Summitt up there, one of the best coaches in women's ball. We were, I think, ranked 11th in the country at the time. So it was a big school. It was the biggest offer that I got. However, no one in my family has ever played college sports. We didn't really know much about it. And so I'm getting all these letters and offers and visits and all of this. And I think if I were to redo things now, even with the state of everything, like how college sports are now, I probably would have went somewhere different because I quit after my first season. Like I did not stay at Old Dominion because I hated my experience. Like I would just put out, they didn't have a good experience. And I also realized, or at least at the time, I was not getting set up to play after basketball. And that's what I knew was my end goal after that. So I was thinking to myself, okay, either going to be a really great basketball player and then try to figure out what I want to do with my life, or I need to kind of pivot now. So I transferred. It also wasn't an option back in the day to like transfer. You had to sit out a year. So even when I did quit, I was getting calls from other D1 schools, D2 schools, D3 schools saying like D2, D3, I could have gone and played right away. D1 schools like saying like, come here, you have a space here. And I was like, no, I think I'm just done. But with that, went into broadcast journalism, found my way back to sports, and now I can kind of talk about it and also share my experience from an athlete's perspective, even though, I didn't play at the highest of levels, but I did get, that experience with it all.
So my girlfriend played D1 softball, and she mentions it all the time. She's like, in hindsight, like her experience wasn't so great. So I want to ask you, like, what was it about the experience that like just I guess kind of like wasn't what you expected? Because I hear that a lot, like with D1 athletes, like they go play, like what kind of turns
I
you off a
think,
little bit?
well, I think I just didn't pick the right school. Like I said, I was getting recruited by schools across the board, and for my goals, I probably picked the wrong place to go because even at the time, like even my freshman year at ODU, I was offered an internship at ESPN Radio, and I wasn't able to do that because we weren't allowed to do internships. And I was like, well, wait a second, this is setting me up for my future. basketball isn't necessarily, and as much as I still wanted to improve as a basketball player and play, it was like my love for basketball wasn't that. So I may have gone to a school that where the priorities were a little bit more even when it comes to like education and also basketball. You know what I mean? Even I couldn't major in specifically what I wanted to because it didn't fit into the practice schedule with other teammates on my team and what they were studying. And so it was kind of like I had to take classes I didn't necessarily want to take just because it fit in with our basketball schedule. I was like, wait a second, this is, not what I'm doing here. So maybe me going to a smaller Division I school that was more about, getting an education and setting yourself up. And maybe we wouldn't make the Sweet 16, but that would have, been better for me. I think also, though, to be fair, if NIL was the way that it is, I probably would have stayed all 4 seasons regardless. But I also would have felt like
Rachel
I
would be
could have
getting
worked.
the grad degree, the super grad degree. She'd be the third game of the
Literally.
season. She'd be tripping and fall over and say, "Oh, I'm taking a medical red shirt." She'd be on the Cam Rising. She'd be on the Cam Rising game plan.
Yeah, Cam Rising's
Yeah.
been in school like since JG was like 9. He's still in college. This is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of things are different, and I wouldn't change anything about my journey because I probably wouldn't be here if I did anything different, and I'm like really happy with where I'm at. But yeah, we weren't that informed. Schools lie to you too. They tell you a lot of things you want to hear just to get you there. And I was like, we were kind of naive to that. So
So I want to I want to tell you something you might want to hear. So Ronnie 2K is a good friend of mine. I've known Ronnie a long
uh,
time, and I remember when you first were doing the 2K thing, and he was trying to pitch you to me about a brand deal, and I said, "Well, what makes her special?" And I found the text message. He said, "This is what he said." He said 3 words. It's more than 3 words, but he said, "Superstar, icon, natural talent." So talk to us
oh,
about
that
how
was
2K.
nice.
This is what Ronnie said about you. Um, I mean,
Very nice.
he was also correct. So talk to us about how the 2K opportunity came about, and just the transition from being athlete to superstar talent.
Well, thank you. The 2K thing came around. It's funny because so I then transferred from Old Dominion. I went to American University. I studied broadcast journalism and I studied performing arts and I got a great education. And so I like, did someone go to American that you know
No,
also?
I went to Howard, and
Yeah.
I used to cover American all the time. A lot of superstars went to American University. A lot of people don't know that. David Aldridge, like a lot of people went there. So yeah,
Did he go there?
yeah, he did.
Oh, that's cool.
Da went to American. So shout out to American University.
I loved my time in DC. I got a fantastic education, but with that, I learned the broadcast track because even then, like I graduated college in 2012. I graduated a year early. Um, they taught me like how to be a reporter, how to be on TV, this is how, and I learned all the things, which was fantastic. But I knew that I didn't want to do the traditional go to a local news station, work your way up because that was pretty much the only path that you could do. They're like, you got to find a local place in the middle of anywhere and just get on camera, like do the weather, do whatever. I was like, no, 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 I'm not going to do that. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm not doing that. It doesn't sound fun. So I moved out to LA immediately after I graduated and was working in a restaurant, doing all the things. Anyway, long story short, fell into YouTube accidentally. And that's where I started. And I started in the fashion and beauty space and was like doing a lot of girlier topics and things. And then I remember Nike had this like skills challenge. And I didn't play basketball since I quit. Like I did not play basketball at all. And I was like, you know what? Let me just see how I do. Anyways, I won the skills challenge with Nike and started doing a bunch with them. And then from there was like doing stuff with other brands. And so I think my first NBA interview was like John Wall or
Wow.
Damian Lillard. It was for Adidas. It was like for their signature shoe way back when they were first launching their shoes. And then I was interviewing some high school athletes that were NBA prospects too. And I was doing some of that stuff with like Ball's Life and Hoop Mixtape. Just I was just doing all the things. 2K, I guess, saw those interviews on my YouTube channel or on YouTube and reached out to me and said that they were, had this crazy idea to do a TV show and a video game. I said, cool. And they were like, so we'd like to, have some meetings with you and have you do an audition. Well, my audition was to interview Shaq and Ernie Johnson.
Oh,
And
wow.
like, they didn't really give me any guidance. They're like, do an interview. And I'm like, okay. So I wrote my interview questions and whatever, and then they hired me from that. So yeah.
So your audition was wait, you literally talked to Shaq and Ernie Johnson for your audition?
I interviewed them for, it's like one of the first episodes of our show ever. It actually did air. I think it was like maybe episode like 2 or 3 or something. But that was essentially like my audition. I met with them a few times and talked to them about different things. Yeah. So
Wow, that's
that
amazing.
happened.
What an audition.
Yeah.
Did
It was
you?
cool. I owe a lot to Shaq. Like, luckily, I still work with him now, and he's always just
He's the
been
best.
like a
Yeah.
mentor to me. He's been amazing. But I'll never forget that. And then Ernie's amazing too. Like, talk about a
Yeah,
pro. He's,
yeah,
yeah,
he's the goat.
crazy.
No, Ernie's
Yeah.
the literal goat. Like Ernie's been doing this since like we were like born. It's crazy.
Also, just like one of the kindest people I've ever met. I don't know if you guys have also read his book. I 10 for 10 recommend it.
What's it
I don't
called?
know. I don't even remember.
Ernie
But I
Johnson's.
read it years ago. Yeah, but it's by I think maybe he's only written one book. I hope I'm not lying or making up things, but I know I read his book. Anyway, I love him. He's amazing. Just an amazing person.
Wait, I mean, when did you realize? I mean, you just say it so casually. Like, when did you realize like you were a part of like the biggest video game brand in sports? Like, when did it hit you that like you went from just your story just like, got accelerated so quick?
Probably never.
Uh,
I'm such an insane person that from episode 1 to my last show there, all I was ever thinking about was like, how can we make this show better? Like, what can we do better? How can we, like, that was all that it was on. And obviously, when people still to this day, like the 2K girl. And sometimes I get my name, a lot of times I get the 2K girl, like from the time I worked there till even now. Um, but like, yeah, so I'll get that. And the fans have obviously been amazing. And even though I've been gone, I think 6 years now, yeah, it's been like 6 years since I've been in the game.
yeah,
And people still say that like I've had an impact on their life and they still follow my journey now. Like that means so much. So I think more than anything, I don't know. I never feel like I'm this like icon or whatever. I appreciate you saying that. That's incredible for you to say. But mostly just the fans. Like they've just been really awesome and supporting me. So
No,
it's a
certainly.
fun community. It's a crazy community, but it's
yeah.
fun too. Yeah.
What were you saying, JG? I thought I cut you off.
No, it is. It's a crazy, rabid community. I mean, she's got this fan base that she can now take anywhere. So I mean, and then I mean, with the advent in just women's sports and NIL, I mean, Rachel, are you now taking, expanding? Obviously, you're doing the Duke. Tell us what you're doing with Duke and just how you've seen this rise of women's sports, and you kind of be at the forefront. Tell us a little bit of how that's kind of impacting your career.
Yeah. I mean, Duke is such a fun opportunity because I haven't done a crazy amount with football, and everything that I have done with football is just kind of like supplemental content. I'm not going to sit there and act like I know the X's and O's and everything about football, but for Duke, I'm able to be there. I'm on the mic live, hyping up the crowd, doing different things with their social media team and this and that. And honestly, the Duke community as well has been so welcoming to me as someone who's not from Carolina, didn't go to Duke. But they've just embraced me, and it's been so much fun to just be a part of that. And I also love live hosting, just having that
Yeah.
immediate feedback with your fans and telling them to get loud and they get loud, asking for their opinions and they just immediately tell you that, and having 40,000 people in that stadium do that with you is just, it's so much fun. And I've done it one other time at AT&T at Jerry's World. for the Big 12 national championship game, which that was 80,000 people. So that was like a whole nother level. That was really cool too. But having the Duke fans, and like I see some of the same kids every week that are in the fan section. And then with women's sports as well, you know, I mean, even just last week at Duke, I was there with the women's basketball team and just being able to talk to them. And my boyfriend's little sister is playing for Duke as well. She's a
Wow.
freshman there.
Was that
Yeah.
how it started, or how did that? Is that how that?
No, and not at all. It was like completely unrelated. Yeah, it's just crazy. Yeah.
That's
He
crazy.
has a sister at TCU and then one at Duke, and they're both, you know, doing really well. So that's cool. But I mean, NIL is just crazy. It's changing the whole landscape, and I think it would have benefited somebody like me so much, somebody who knew that they didn't want to play professionally. And like I told you guys, like earlier on, I could have felt like there would have been more incentive for me to continue my basketball career because I would have been able to simultaneously work on my career or at least make money at the time. Because as a student athlete before, you can't work. You can't get paid for anything essentially, you know what I mean?
Anything
like,
at all.
You are right. And you know, they do make sure that you're fed and your housing is paid for and all of that. So there's a ton of benefits to being a student athlete, but like making a career for yourself while you're playing basketball, it used to be you could not do that. It's like you do basketball and you do your schoolwork and that's it. So now it's just so cool to see a lot of these girls be able to use their social media too and build up their own brands.
Yeah.
And a lot of times too for women's sports, the fan bases in college are much greater than they are in any professional league. And so like you have a rabid fan base. You even look at Caitlin Clark's last game at Iowa. I think it was close to 19 million people tuned in. And obviously the numbers in the WNBA have been fantastic this season, but none of them even got close to that for that last game at
I think
Iowa.
WNBA is hoping, like you said, that talk about NIL bleeding into pro. I think what they're hoping is that college sports becomes bigger with the advent of NIL, and then those fan bases, when people become fans of their player, that they'll transition over, right? Which I mean, that's
Right.
a different growth strategy than really anything else we've ever seen, but it feels like the right one for women's sports.
For sure.
But tell us, you know, you're right. I know you're launching, you know, your Courtside Club, you know, that you're launching your own channel. You know, maybe you could have done that during when you were in college. You know, that would have been an opportunity. Tell us just a little bit about that and, you know, how that's going and how that kind of came to be.
Yeah, Courtside has been amazing. It was an idea that I had in 2020
Yeah.
during COVID. And to be fair, I will be completely honest in saying this. I was not in the right mindset to start anything new. I don't know if it was like fear of failure. I don't know if like just the anxiety and we didn't know what was going on with the world, but it was something that I had thought of during COVID. And then about a year and a half later, like finally pulled the trigger on it. It was acquired by Omaha and ESPN for season 1. So season 1 of Courtside Club was all interviews. So we had 45 episodes of different people on every single week. And it lived on ESPN. I could upload like a portion of it to my social media. And as great as season 1 was, and we had some incredible guests and we did a great job with that, there was definitely a ceiling to Courtside Club if it stayed with ESPN. And for season 2, we've now taken it back, and now we've had a full season of season 2 of Courtside. And it was a grind to reintroduce people back to my YouTube channel and be like, okay, this is what the show is now. Now I do a lot of solo episodes and I do interviews when they make sense. And this way I've been really able to like share my opinion about topics, talk about whatever I wanted to, have whatever guests I wanted to, and I own everything. And as much as like it's been a grind of me putting a lot of my own money back into the show, I'm seeing it's just genuinely growing and we're building a community. And we've already seen like much higher numbers than we ever saw on ESPN. And ESPN is a channel with over 8 million subs, and I have 330,000 subs now. But even that, we have grown our subscriber channel, like I think over 60,000 subs in just season 2. which I think is impressive because I live in this landscape and it's really hard to get it back. But I feel like now if you watch Courtside Club, it is authentic, it is real, it is my opinions. I'm not saying like I'm not cutting out things because I have to because I'm part of this bigger network. Like you're gonna get everything, and I'm just really grateful with how it's grown. Yeah, it's been really cool.
We're in a world where like people can follow, certain talent that they like, right? Like they go to just your YouTube page or somebody's TikTok, right? Talk about just, I guess, do you think that ESPN or networks like that will eventually kind of die out? Because like you said, you have 330,000, like that's a lot. That means 330,000 people are tuned into, what you're delivering. And so there's other Rachel Demitas out there, maybe not as big, right? But like, do you think that the larger networks will eventually like die out and people will just kind of choose, a talent that they like and subscribe and follow?
Yeah, I think we're almost there in a sense. I think the only thing that these bigger networks have over individual creators is just like live sports rights. People still want to watch live sports.
Hmm.
But when it comes to commentary, you can go anywhere. You can listen to anyone you want. And a lot of people are starting their own shows, or you can follow their takes on Twitter. And, there are some people that I only follow on Twitter and I don't follow anywhere else. There's some people I only follow on YouTube. And there are some people that I follow on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, because I just love everything they're doing and have to say. And I think that is probably true for me as well. Like my demo on YouTube is different than my demo on Instagram, is different
Right.
from my demo on TikTok. And um, yeah, I don't necessarily know if the big networks will die, but they're losing their appeal, I guess, or their leverage over because everyone, can have a voice. And so Courtside Club is the prime example. 10 years ago, I might not have survived doing anything on my own. I would have needed a partner. And now my show has been exponentially better since it left ESPN. That shouldn't be the case, but it is.
Yeah,
So,
but stickier, just
yeah.
and question: when you're watching, I assume like if you're watching sports, your favorite sport to watch is men's basketball, NBA. Like, what are you football? Like, what do you watch?
Hmm. That's a tough question because my favorite sport to watch is gymnastics, to be fair.
Oh,
I love gymnastics. I think it's the most interesting. But I'm not like an avid follower of college gymnastics or something like that, but
Well, let me
I
say this,
do
guys.
watch.
If gymnastics, if you're looking for a commentator, if you're
yes.
an idiot if you're not getting Rachel Demita, like you
Yes.
a whole different audience. I'm just
So
saying.
one of my good friends is Sam Pesich, and she was in the 2008 Olympics, and she's also in Texas, and she did the commentary for the Olympics this year. So that's a good friend of mine. She
Wow.
does far better job than I would do. Um, so I'm just gonna shout her out because she does an amazing job. But anyway, no, with basketball though, obviously, basketball's one. Football I've gotten more into. I love following college football.
Yeah.
Before this year, it was always Ohio State because I'm from Ohio. But now it's Ohio State and Duke. I love them
Okay.
both. But Duke's my team. Duke's my team this season. But with basketball, I've been following Caitlin Clark all summer. She's just you can't take your eyes off her.
That
She's
was our
incredible.
that was our
Yeah.
next question was the evolution of women's sports and Caitlin Clark, and our question was just like, why is there so much drama around Caitlin? Is the drama good? Is it fabricated? Just give us your overall thoughts about Caitlin and the evolution of women's sports, especially in the WNBA.
Yeah. I am such a fan of Caitlin's. I think what she has done for women's basketball and the
Yeah,
WNBA, we shouldn't be, I don't even know what the word, diminishing her involvement in that by
Yeah.
any means. Like we should be giving her all of the credit. And she's not even doing it purposefully. She's just going out there and hooping. And I think that's the best part of all of it. But what we've seen from her is just a game that is so exciting. And it was the spark that women's basketball really needed. And I think a lot of the drama has been fabricated. I think the media has done a lot of that, saying that you only like Caitlin Clark because of all these things that have nothing to do with basketball. And I think that
Right.
that's completely unfair. I think the majority of people who love Caitlin Clark is because she is so exciting to watch. Her
Mm.
passing, and it started with her shooting. Nobody was pulling up like 2 feet over half court and launching it and making it. And she was doing that. And she also went to a smaller school. It wasn't like she went to a powerhouse at UConn or any of these other places, which I don't actually know if her game would have thrived the way that it did if she went to UConn. So I'm glad that she chose to go to Iowa. They just let her do her. Just like, do you. You know, she had the ultimate green light. Um,
Yeah.
but it's so exciting because with that, now you're tapped into the WNBA. Teams that she's playing, you're going to see other players that maybe you like the way that they're playing also, or you like something else about them. You think they're pretty, or you like their dogs, or you like their social media, or you think it's, whatever. You like their hairstyle. There's a million ways that you can like a player, like reasons
Right.
you could like a player. Oh, they talk smack. Oh, they don't talk smack. And so she has just brought more eyeballs. So then there's more opportunity for everybody else who's on there on the court. And so that's why I have been outspoken about the people who seem to have blamed her for certain things and act like there's this exclusive club that you can't be in unless you've already been following the WNBA. And I'm like, no, 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 no. You need to welcome literally everyone. If this is
Yeah.
their first WNBA game that they've ever watched, be excited about that. And there's going to be noise. There's going to be all the things. And, turn off your social media and get out there and hoop. And it's going to be good for everyone. So it's been really exciting. So it's honestly been more interesting than the NBA this season because there's not as many storylines to follow.
I agree.
And there's a hell of a lot more games too in the NBA. So
I
So
agree.
can I ask an
yeah.
NIL question? And just Rachel, maybe getting to speak to more women in the space. Just we keep hearing about rev share coming, and that it's going to be this big thing. And look, primarily the focus is on men's football, men's basketball. There's going to be some for women's basketball. I'm just wondering, have you heard anything from women that are currently there, or just, because there's this big thing about equal share, how it's going to be broken down. Are women like, we need to be completely equal of all the money, or are you hearing more of them are just happy more money's going to be flowing in? I'm just wondering, like, have you heard anything? Do you have a view on that?
Are you talking about college?
Yeah,
The
college.
college
Yeah,
splits?
college sports. There's going to be rev share coming, within the
Right.
next, which basically means that when media rights are now given to the school, their portion of that's going to go to athletes. And there's a big thing going on where it's deciding how much of that is going to go towards men's football, basketball, and men's sports, and then women's. And
Mhm.
so there's this whole thing, as you know, with Title IX about equal equality in NCAA sports.
Right.
That's at the root of this whole thing. So was just
Uh-huh.
wondering if you had heard anything, or if anyone had mentioned. I'm just interested in the temperature of women, of just that being a thing.
Yeah. Well, it's actually the first time I've heard it broken down in that sense. So this is kind of my reaction to hearing that. But I'm obviously about equal opportunity for women playing sports. However, I do think it'd be silly if they're getting if
Yeah.
Georgia's women's basketball team is getting the same share as Georgia men's football team,
Mhm.
or Ohio State football and women's basketball is also great. So like theirs, maybe that's something a better um, comparison. But like the lacrosse team that isn't really on national television. I don't know I'm not in those offices to make those decisions on where the splits go, but I think it should probably be fair depending on the amount of revenue that these teams are bringing in. And I don't think that that should so much be determined by whether it's a woman or a
Yeah,
man's
I
sport.
think that's a logical point of view. I think most women are probably taking the stance you are, that it should be, look, more money in sports is more money in sports. So it's,
Mhm.
like you
Yeah,
said, and that's my opinion too, is you should look at the overall, metrics of how these sports are
Mhm.
perceived, the whole NCAA economy, and then that should be the breakdown. If
Yeah.
women's sports becomes 30% of overall media rights when they're doing this, then you know what? Maybe it deserves
right.
30%. So I think, look, it's going to be a good thing. I'm not surprised though that women's sports has had this moment. I mean, it, you know, to grow anything, you need more money, right? Like
Mhm.
that's just in general. So more money flowing into sports has now made women elevated to grow their brands to become more visible. So it's been a blessing. I think it's going to be really interesting.
I think it's a circular kind of effect because you grow yourself on social media, then more eyeballs come to you, then more money comes, then it's like it's this cycle that kind of feeds on itself. And Caitlin Clark is somebody who was just at the front of that, and it was a boom that I don't think anyone could expect, especially in the basketball space. And I think it was a perfect storm of a lot of things that have to do with her game. But that boom specifically for women's basketball, I think was awesome. And then you look at someone like Olivia Dunn, who is so popular outside of gymnastics. I don't know. I would love to see like the numbers of how many people are going to LSU gymnastics meets or watching LSU gymnastics. Like, how much did her stardom translate to eyeballs on the sport?
I'll
Caitlin
tell.
is like more on the sport, less on her. Like, she has less Instagram followers still than a ton of people who are way less famous than her. You know what I mean?
No, it's
So,
interesting. I just did a brand deal, a really really big deal, and they were paying some good checks. And when I tell you they offered Livy like 10 times what they were offering everybody else, it was crazy. Like they offered, they were like, "Yo, tell her we're giving her a private jet," and I was like, "Wait, what?" Like I mean, it was crazy. Like, and she said
right,
no. She was in her season when they want to do it, and like they doubled the offer, and I was like, wait, what? And it just let me know, like I was like, yo, she's doing gymnastics, but like she's literally that huge, and so I mean, it was a great look for women's sports, and I mean,
for
even for me, I
sure.
was like, wow, like should I manage Livy now? Like it was kind of crazy, like it was wild. I mean,
No, she's huge.
like so, like you've taken a non-traditional route to the top, and you're gonna keep rising. Like you're literally incredible. But talk about some of your career goals. Like there's little girls that grow up and they just want to be Diane Sawyer or Robin Roberts. And they follow that path. But you were an athlete. You've jumped in. To the hosting. Talk about just now being where you're at, reaching a certain level, but knowing there's still another level you can get to. What are some career goals that you feel like if you do this, like you'll feel even more accomplished?
Thank you. Yeah, it's crazy now because it's hard to say like, oh, I want to be on this network. I want to be like this person, and I really don't have that at all. I don't have a place I want to go or a person. I look up to a lot of people, but I pick different things about them that I like about them. And so for me, I mean, my main focus has truly been to grow Courtside Club. I think having my own vehicle that's its own brand, it's its own show that I own now completely, and I'm so proud for it to be mine. But I just see Courtside Club growing into something that's not only a show where I'm sharing my opinions and having incredible guests on, and we're merging the gaps between sports and entertainment. And I don't think that another show, especially like a female led show, is doing that right now. I think I really do have like a hold on this space, and I'm proud of that. But I also think beyond me, like Courtside Club can live beyond me. Courtside Club can be a part at an arena that you win tickets to sit in the Courtside Club. Courtside Club is a brand beyond me that I hope continues to live on if there's a time that I'm like, you know what, I don't want to be on camera anymore.
Right.
Courtside Club is its own network. It has other people a part of it. So that's really my goal right now that I'm like truly honed in on. And then everything else, like I'm having a fantastic time doing sideline reporting for the Big Three during the
Mhm.
summer. I'm doing a great job, or having a great time with Duke, and maybe they'll have me back next season as well. Like those are other supplementary things that I just would love to keep doing because they're just so much fun. But I think as far as growth and my goals, it's really kind of I'm locked in on courtside, and I hope everyone's enjoying the ride. I feel like we're just getting started still.
I have a question. So you moved to Austin. How long have you been down in Austin? Are you liking living in Texas? Like, just tell us a little bit. I'll be there tomorrow for the Florida Texas game. So just wondering how you're enjoying, Austin and moving from LA, right?
Yeah.
I love Texas. Yeah. It's funny because I don't love LA much at all anymore. I'm so happy with the move. My quality of life is just like so much better.
You're supposed to say, God,
Sorry. Yeah, no, I don't miss it at all.
I bet it's affordable living for sure.
Oh yeah, I have a house, a yard, a garage. My taxes are, spend much money on taxes. You can drive everywhere. You can park for free. It's
hey,
crazy, right?
yeah. You know, it's so funny. You can always tell LA people when they go to other cities, especially when they have a rental car, right? Because they like you
Yes.
park. And you're like, wow, that was so easy. And other people are like, what is wrong with you? Like that's
It's like, no, this is real life.
I can just pull into this spot and not have to look at 7 meters. Like people are like,
Literally.
I try to
Read
tell.
all the signs closely and make sure that your car's not going to be gone in 5 minutes.
People
Literally.
always ask me about living in LA, and I say this all the time because remember I'm from Maryland. I went to University of Florida, and I love LA. But I tell people I wouldn't live in LA if what I do wasn't relevant here. If that makes sense, like I
Same.
moved here because, and I do say this: the value of LA. Of course, it's beautiful. Lost the beaches are great. But I think a lot still comes through here. It is the entertainment capital of the world. But I think the dream scenario is kind of what you've done, Rachel. Like you can be partially here. My dream is
Yeah.
to be partially here and partially another place. I've been talking to the missus, all jokes aside, about we say having a second place. She's dead set on Fort Lauderdale. I'm bringing her to the
Fun.
Texas game tomorrow. She's never been to Austin or Texas, so
Oh.
it's a little bit. I don't think she knows what's going on, guys. Cheat code. She doesn't realize what's going on here. I think she's gonna like it a lot. So, but yeah, I mean, Austin. I haven't been there in a minute, but I'm excited. I hear it's just continued to grow, and guys look for great parking there. So
Yeah. Yeah, watch it. The only thing is though, when I first came to Austin, I got like 4 speeding tickets in like 2 months because I just wasn't used to having just like open roads, and just cruising. They don't play around. They don't. The cops don't play around. You'll get a speeding ticket. They'll pull you over. They'll give you a ticket in 5 minutes. You'll be on the way. You won't even be late for your whatever, but you'll get a ticket. So if you're driving, just be careful because you leave LA and you're used to just like starting, stopping.
How fast were you going, Rachel?
No, not even that much. Like even just 10 or 11 miles per hour, like over. But these roads are wide open, so you're going 60 and a 50, and you're like, oh crap, I was speeding. But it just, yeah. I'm telling you, it happens to literally everyone, especially if you're coming from a place with like high traffic. So just,
I
don't
mean,
get
I
spoiled
mean,
like that.
you're in Austin. South by Southwest is super huge there. Have you thought about, or have you even done some music stuff, some music hosting? Have you thought about getting into that a little bit?
I haven't. It's funny because anytime Austin has an event, I leave. Like F1, I was out. ACL was out. South by, I was out because it does get a little crazy downtown. But no, I'm sure there's like some cool things that go on in South by. I did a music show with a music and gaming crossover show with Facebook before, which was cool, where we had like DJ Khaled on,
No.
we had Diplo on, and then we would have a professional gamer come on and play video games while the DJ played music, and I would kind of host or like, we played Mario Kart together. So that was fun, but I haven't gone too much in the music space yet.
I got one more question for Rachel. What advice would you give to girls, 10 years old and look at you and they love what you built? Like what advice, if you could either do things differently or what advice would you give to them now if they love what you do with the content you create and the personality you are?
Yeah, I'm probably unpopular advice, but I am all about getting a great education.
Mm,
And whether you go to school or not, I think like focus on your schoolwork and just make sure that you get a great education first, especially young girls. School's important. Do the hard work there. And I think it's all about hard work and being authentic and true to yourself. I don't let anybody outwork you.
mm,
Don't make excuses. Don't make
Mm,
if my content isn't doing well, it's because it's not good enough. And like,
mhm,
I'm not going to make an excuse about anything. I've always had the mentality, like, be so good they can't ignore you. And that's something that I
mm.
learned in sports. It's like, so I think that kind of tough mentality, if you want to be in this industry, you have to get thick skin, you have to work hard, and you just have to be true to yourself. The more true you are to yourself, the less you have to fake, and it's like much easier in the long run to like be yourself. So yeah, I think just work hard and don't make excuses and be you. It'll be
My
fun. Find what you love.
my high school coach had a saying he used to tell us. He said, "Don't make excuses." He said, "Excuses are the nails that built the house of failure, so we don't make those." So
Love
Yeah,
that.
true.
yeah.
Wait, you want to know the turning point in my I feel like my life, honestly.
Okay.
I was a freshman on varsity and I was a really good player. We had a great team, but I would leave practice crying pretty much every day because my coaches were so mean. They were so mean to me. They would get on me about everything. And so, and it was going on for a while. And my parents like, you're going to have to talk to them. Like, we'll schedule a meeting or whatever. So I scheduled a meeting with my coaches and I was telling them, I'm like, you guys are like, I just don't know. I feel like it's too much. It's not. And they looked me straight in the face and they said, Rachel, you can either get thick skin or we can put you on JV. Let us know what you want to do.
No, wow.
And like, that has stuck with me. That was 20 years ago. That has stuck with me. And that's always what I think. Like, if something's getting under my skin, if it's social media, if it's anything, I'm like, okay, I can either get thick skin and get through this or I can quit. Like, and that day I chose, I was like, I'm not playing on JV. Are you kidding? I'm starting varsity as a freshman. So I was like, I got to get tough. That's the only thing I can do. And so I don't know. That's just another moment that stuck with me. So get thick skin. Yeah.
My last question for you is what moment throughout your life or career um, was just like super cool where you're like, yo, I gotta tell my family, like you just were super proud of yourself, like whether it was an interview or just an accomplishment that you finally achieved. What was a moment where you were like, yo, like that was super dope, and you just gotta share with the family?
Hmm. That's tough because I'm always so hard on myself. I honestly, though, the one that comes to mind is when I did host the Big 12 national championship game in football at AT&T in front of 80,000 people live because I had never done anything like that before. And so kudos to the Big 12 for having faith in me that I could do that. But I did sound check after Ashanti. Ashanti was singing the national anthem and she went first at sound check and then my sound check was right after. And I'm standing there listening to her. And then I get on the mic and it's like 17 echoes and my voice sounds scratchy. And I'm like, and I remember that's only one of the only times in my career that I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I was actually scared. And I've never felt like that for a job. And I was really nervous. I was like, I might like fail miserably at this. And this is going to be a big fail of like a monumental fail. And I was really nervous. And I didn't. I did a great job. And so I think that's the moment where I was like really proud of myself because it was hard. That was a really tough job on a lot of levels. So that was cool. Wow. Shout out Ashanti. She's a beautiful voice.
Love it.
Ashanti's a legend. I mean, and you're a legend yourself. I mean, but before we get you out of here, what's coming up? What can we expect? We know Duke. Duke basketball is coming up.
For sure.
Cooper Flag is everything. He's like the biggest thing since like maybe JJ Redick. So, what's next? And where can people follow you and continue to watch your journey?
Of course. So I have one more home game with Duke football at the end of November. I'm really excited about that. So if anybody's in the Raleigh-Durham area, definitely come out to that game. It's going to be fun. But yeah, Duke basketball, I'm not sure if I'm doing anything with them yet, but we kind of have been talking to the school about what else I can do because I just love the people at Duke. So that would be exciting. But otherwise, new episodes on Courtside Club every single week. We are planning some guest interviews for the next couple months too. I will just leave it at that. But we are planning some hopefully pretty cool guests. So check that out. My YouTube channel, social media, everything is R.A. Demita, Rademita. All my social media, so you can check me out there. Yeah, it'll be fun. Thanks for having me today.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. We always end on Chuck's bullshit of the week, where I just give a little rant. But my bullshit of the week this week is not even bullshit. I mean, the election just happened. I don't care what side of the coin you're on. If you're with Trump or Kamala, who went to HU, like myself. But I just want everybody to spread love, man. I see a lot of hate on the internet, and we just got to come together, man. And Kamala, she ran a strong race. She lost. But for me, it was incredible to see somebody from my alma mater, be an inspiration to my young daughter. And I want women to come together because I think that, women are going to continue to lead the world. And I want people to follow strong women that are just doing great things. The Caitlin Clarks, the Kamala Harrises, the Rachel Demitas. So I wanted to give you your flowers today.
Oh,
Continue to
thank
be
you.
you. Keep being incredible. I think you're blazing a super incredible trail for what television can look like now and going forward. And I mean, you're an icon, and you should know it. Celebrate you, and you're always welcome on Grammys and Heisman's. And hopefully, Duke brings you back to the basketball season. If not, come back to LA, have a drink, me and JG, and
Thanks.
just keep shining, Rachel. We're thankful to have you.
I know who to call if I'm ever having a bad day and I'm feeling down on myself.
That's absolutely, absolutely right.
I'm gonna lift this up, man.
I'm hitting
Rachel,
you
you're
up.
incredible. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank
Appreciate
you
it.
guys.
Everyone have a great one.